I knew something was wrong the second I opened my electricity bill and saw it had tripled. I live alone, work from home, and I'm the type who unplugs everything before bed, even the toaster. So unless my microwave had secretly started mining crypto, something fishy was happening. It didn't take long to find out. That same afternoon, while trimming the backyard, I spotted a bright blue extension cord snaking over the fence. It wasn't mine, but it was plugged into my outlet. I traced it, feeling like the guy in a thriller who hears a creak and just has to investigate. It stretched over the fence and into the yard next door, leading straight to the open garage of none other than Linda, the iron-fisted ruler of our suffocating HOA. If you've never met a Linda, let me paint the picture. She's in her late 50s, with a permanent frown and a wardrobe that screams, "I'd like to speak to your manager." She owns an absurd number of binders and treats HOA rules like they're sacred commandments. Once she fined a neighbor for leavoying their trash cans out an extra 12 minutes. I timed it. She patrols the street like she's the law, except all she's enforcing is misery. I approached her about the cord, trying to stay calm despite my gut screaming she was up to no good. She was in her driveway, buffing her shiny black SUV like it was a museum piece. I pointed at the cord and asked, as nicely as I could, if she knew anything about it. She didn't flinch, just smirked and said, "Oh, that? I figured you wouldn't mind. My garage circuit tripped and I needed a quick charge. We're neighbors, right?" Like she'd borrowed a stick of butter instead of jacking enough power to run a small concert. I told her plugging into someone else's outlet without asking is, stealing. She laughed loudly and said, "Don't be so dramatic. You probably didn't even notice." That's when it hit me. Linda didn't just bend boundaries. She redrew them to suit herself, then fined you for crossing them. I tried to take the high road for about an hour before ordering a weatherproof lockbox for the outlet. When it arrived, I installed it, locked it tight, and felt a flicker of triumph. Problem solved, right? Oh, how naive I was. The next morning, the lockbox was gone, not broken, not pried off, just gone. In its place? That same blue cord plugged in and humming away. I checked my security camera and nearly spit out my coffee. At 1:50 a.m., Linda had strolled into my yard with bolt cutters, a flashlight, and zero remorse. She clipped the lockbox, took it with her, and plugged back in like she owned my house. I confronted her again, this time with "Vi deo e vi denke." She didn't even deny it, just glared and said, "You shouldn't be filming me. That's a privacy violation. I could fine you." Fine me for catching her trespassing and stealing? The nerve was staggering. She'd hijacked my power, swiped my lockbox, and now acted like I was the VY lane. It escalated from there. I filed a complaint with the HOA, which was pointless since Linda wasn't just the president, she was the HOA. Every vote, every ruling, every appeal went through her. She built a personal kingdom out of petty theft and power cords, and any resistance was met with sanctimonious letters about community spirit. Apparently, community spirit meant I let her use my house as her private power grid. I talked to other neighbors, hoping to rally support, only to find a graveyard of crushed spirits and overregulated flower beds. She'd fined one family for painting their mailbox the shade she called too bold. Another got hit for a Halloween ghost she deemed too spooky. It was clear Linda ruled with a tyrant's grip, and no one dared challenge her. The breaking point came when she taped a notice to my door accusing me of fostering a hostile environment by installing cameras without her approval, the same cameras that caught her red-handed. It ended with a chirpy threat. Fines would double weekly until I complied. That's when something in me snapped, like a cheap lock under her bolt cutters. Linda had started a war, and I wasn't just going to push back, I was going to win. I decided if she wanted power, I'd give her more than she could handle, but not from my outlet. I'd picked up an old bug zapper at a garage sale last year. A relic with a spark that gave me chills when I tested it. Oh yes, Linda craved electricity. She was about to get a jolt she'd never forget. The plan took shape in my head, piece by cunning piece. It had to be clever, safe, and above all legal. I wouldn't sink to her level. I'd burrow beneath it, rig it with irony, and let her strut right into the trap. The next day, after catching her on camera and getting slapped with another fake HOA violation, I realized I'd stumbled into a suburban nightmare. Most people, when busted stealing, might slink away ashamed. Not Linda. She doubled down. That evening, I watched her strut down the street with her binder, inspecting hedges and eyeing porch lights like she was judge, jury, and executioner. She waved at me smugly as she passed, the blue cord still trailing over the fence like a taunting flag. I tried reasoning one last time. I sent her a polite letter with photos and timestamps, asking her to stop using my outlet and remove her cord. The reply came slipped under my mat like a shady deal. Your outlet falls under shared external resources per Section 9C of the HOA bylaws. As president, I can use it for emergencies. Emergencies? She'd been charging her SUV for weeks. This wasn't entitlement, it was lunacy with a title. I dug into the HOA bylaws online, wading through a mess of PDFs that looked like they'd been scanned by a toddler. After an hour, I found gold. There was no Section 9C. Section 9 covered fence heights and approved patio furniture, nothing about shared resources. She was inventing rules to cover her tracks. Classic Linda. Fueled by coffee and spite, I started discreet chats with neighbors over fences and dog walks. Turns out, Linda had been terrorizing everyone for years. One guy got fined for staining his deck without grain pattern approval. Another got a violation for drying clothes outside. Linda mailed her a photo with a fine for visual blight. No one fought back. They were too worn out or too afraid of her endless red tape. She'd forged an empire of dread out of forms and smugness. Unplugging the cord wouldn't cut it, just plugged back in, citing her imaginary rights. I needed something permanent, legal, and devastating to her scheme. Late nights on YouTube led me down a rabbit hole of low-voltage pranks and decoy setups. My search history screamed cartoon VY Lane, but it was all for a noble cause. I installed a new outlet box, a perfect twin to the real one but wired to nothing. Eucephula decoy. Inside, I rigged a tweaked bug zapper circuit. Harmless but startling if overloaded, like a sharp electric smack. I painted it to blend with the house, added a fresh cover, and stuck a sign next to it. Outlet under repair, do not use. To Linda, that'd be a neon plug me in sign. For 2 nights, nothing. The cord stayed in the old, now dead outlet. Then on the 3rd night, my camera pinged me awake at 2:07 a.m. There she was, live on my phone, sneaking across my yard in a bathrobe and sandals, flashlight in hand, looking like a burglar with a superiority complex. She yanked the cord from the dead outlet, tested it, scowled, then spotted the decoy. She plugged it in. And pop a crackle, a flash of light, and Linda shrieked like she'd seen a ghost. Not hurt, just shocked. She dropped the cord, tripped over a garden statue, and bolted back over the fence faster than her slippers should have allowed. It was pure gold. I rewatched it 4 times that night, 5 if you count showing my cat. Next morning, no cord, no wave, no binder patrol. My house felt mine again. But I knew Linda wouldn't quit over a little zap. By noon, she'd called the cops, claiming I'd weaponized my property and threatened neighborhood harmony. The officer who showed up looked tired. I showed him the footage, explained the decoy, and pointed out her trespassing. He laughed, shook his head, and said, I wouldn't sweat it. Just, maybe don't zap anything else. Linda got a warning, no charges, but the cop told her to stay off my land. She avoided me for days, but the quiet wasn't PC, it was a brewing storm. A week later, a thick HOA envelope arrived, accusing me of property sabotage, endangering residents, and creating a hostile electrical zone. She even threw in malicious intent, probably cribbed from a crime show. The fine? $1,500 for my dangerous installation. I called the police non-emergency line to double-check, no charges, no record. It was all fake, Linda flailing with her crumbling power. That night, I heard her SUV's engine roaring. From my window, I saw her in her driveway, hood up, tools everywhere, yelling into her phone. The charger cable lay limp across her grass. Had the zap fried it? Her frustration said yes. She kept gesturing at it, hands flailing like she was describing a robbery. The next morning, she struck back, not with words, but with a bucket of neon yellow paint splashed across my lawn, spelling crook in dripping letters. I filed a vandalism report with the cops, handed over the footage of her at 3:52 a.m., hooded and gloved. They said they'd look into it, which I knew meant nothing unless she escalated. I cleaned it up, replanted the grass, and seethed quietly. She'd stolen from me, trespassed, filed fake fines, and now defaced my yard like a petulant kid. It wasn't just about stopping her Anna Marie, it was about toppling her tyranny. I had something she didn't. Neighbors ready to fight. I printed proof, the cord theft, the bolt cutters, the paint job, her bogus fines, and went door to door, calm and collected. Every house had a Linda horror story, a $250 fine for a too festive wreath, a violation for a dog barking excessively at 7 p.m., a bill for unauthorized wind chimes. Together we hatched a plan. We started a group chat beyond her reach and gathered signatures to dissolve the HOA. The bylaws now my bedtime reading had a clause, a majority vote could end it. Linda thrived on fear and confusion, but once people saw her power was a sham, they got brave quick. One afternoon, she stormed to my door, slapped the laminated, final warning, HOA hearing required, notice on it, and left. It repeated her usual nonsense electrical violations, inciting unrest ending with, I will not tolerate defiance. I am the HOA. Big mistake. That week we had the signatures. At the next meeting we voted. Linda arrived with binders, ranting about betraying community values. But no one cared. The vote passed overwhelmingly. She stormed out muttering about legal action, but her empire was dust. We were free. But I wasn't done. Digging deeper, I found she'd been skimming HOA funds due law $10,000 in repairs and events that only benefited her, like a new patio she claimed was a community deck. With the HOA gone, the books had to close. A neighbor, a retired accountant named Tom, helped me trace it all. We handed it to the county clerk. 2 weeks later, Linda got served on her porch. I watched, beer in hand, as she screeched at the process server. Her reign was over, and the real fallout was just beginning.